A mother took her little son on a train trip to go across the country. If you've never gone on a train, it's a great way to travel because it's very relaxing and you can get up, you can walk around, you get to see a lot. And this little boy was so excited because he saw things he had never seen before. As they were going through Nebraska, he saw beautiful fields and he was all excited. He yelled out in the train car, "Mommy, Mommy, look, there's all those open fields." He saw cows a little up close. He said, "Mommy, Mommy, look, there's cows and look at those animals." And then he saw mountains as they got out to the Rockies and he said, "Mom, Mom, look at those huge mountains. They're so big." When they arrived at their destination, the mom kind of got up and she looked around to those who were sitting there and had to endure his excitement the whole time. And she said to those sitting around, she said, "You know, folks, thank you for being so patient. Please excuse my son. He thinks that the world is still full of great wonder." How sad, in a way, that she would have had to apologize for that, because that's not something we should apologize for. We should see the world with great excitement. We should see the world always with new eyes. And we should be able to look at the ordinary and be able to see great beauty in it. For instance, I get excited. I love watching the crepe myrtle. You notice there's quite a few around our campus. It's probably my favorite tree. And I love watching throughout the year how the crepe myrtle, if you don't know what one is, that's one right out there, okay? It's kind of with the beautiful flowers. They're very bright. Some are white, some purple, some lavender. Some have more of a pinkish tone to them. They get kind of tall and they're just sort of gracious looking. But they lose their leaves and then they get barren in the winter. It's one of the few trees or foliage that we have that shows a change of season. And then when they start coming back again, it's like, wow, they're going to grow back. I wonder how tall they'll get. You start thinking a little bit about it. I have 5 of them over on the side of the house, and they're kind of like friends, I guess you would say. I like kind of, watching them throughout the year and kind of caring for them. But, that's what nature does. Nature draws us in. And even though we're surrounded by it, and we have great beauty right here in Central Florida. Every time I get off the interstate at I-4, you kind of go down towards the Little Wekiva, go over the bridge. It's just really beautiful there. And the water is very clear. When there's been a lot of rain, sometimes when I go there by on my bike, you'll see there's like a little waterfall off to the side by the Wendy's before you get to the business office complex there. And it's like, wow, it's ever changing. And I'm kind of drawn into it. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to find the beauty of God's creation and his presence there in that nature. And God uses it very often to explain things. Notice Jesus in the story tonight in the gospel, and last week too. He used nature for a lot of examples to talk about what heaven is like. So what did he talk about last week? I knew I would get a lot of responses. Well, we won't even go there because, unless there's a theology teacher from Bishop Moore here, I probably won't get the right answer. But anyway, we'll try. Maybe you've been brushing up on your catechism this week. But last week in the gospel, we heard about weeds and wheat. We heard about mustard seed. We heard about birds of the air. Today, what do we hear about? We hear about fields and hidden treasure in a field. We hear about a pearl. We hear about the sea and the fish. These are all examples of nature. These are all things that God made. Man did not make these things, but God did. So Jesus is using them all as examples because he tells about 5, 6 parables that talk about the kingdom of heaven. So in the ordinary everyday of a mustard seed, of a field, of the fish or of the sea, we can start thinking a little bit more about heaven. Because there's some common themes that are here. There's like a mystery. There's a mystery in that field because it's got a hidden treasure. Who doesn't like a good story about finding treasure? Like down in the midst of the sea or in a field or something that's old and suddenly being able to be rich because of it. I think it's like, wow, you never know what might happen. That's why people buy lottery tickets on Saturday night because they think I'm going to win. That could be your hidden treasure that's there. So you're willing to take the risk. So kind of heaven is like that. There's something mysterious about it. It's mysterious because we cannot and do not understand what it's going to be like, because it's not going to be like earth. That's why Jesus gives us these things to think about a little further. He draws us into mystery when it comes to heaven. And that's part of the wonder of heaven, is it's going to be different than what we know. So if you think it's going to be like, well, the streets are paved with gold, all my bills are paid, that's not really as important. What's important in heaven is that you're loved. It's the mystery of God's incredible forgiveness for the ways maybe that we have failed him on this earth, but we can fall into his loving arms in his kingdom. You know, there's mystery, and we're drawn into that mystery of heaven every time we go to Mass. Whether you go to Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, here in our own church, in a life center, on Easter morning, out on our own field, there's mystery in the beauty of the Eucharist, because simple elements that are drawn from wheat and grapes, that's bread and wine, they become the body and blood of Christ. Something great is happening here, and it seems so simple, but yet it's something so extraordinary in that Jesus' presence comes to be known to us in the host and in the chalice, in the bread and the wine, in his body and in his blood. And he makes his presence known in a mysterious type of way. We're drawn into that. We also can see in these parables about how nature and the gift of nature leads us to seek, like the people with the pearls. You know, the guy could have had a whole bucket of pearls, but he searched the whole bucket of pearls to look for the best one. He looked for the one of great price. What was he looking for? What was he seeking? What were the qualities of that pearl of great price? You know, maybe our life is like that pearl of great price, that we're looking and we're seeking for the best life that we possibly can have. I assure you, if you're looking for that, God is a part of it. And if you're looking for it, then you're seeking God. You have a desire for him. The gift of nature draws us in to desiring and to seeking a deeper relationship with the Almighty. And finally, we have the gift of knowing that there's accountability with heaven. That there's accountability with heaven because, you know, the fish were separated, the good and the bad. Now, some of them were good, I guess that they were large enough, they were fresh, but some of the fish, they weren't worthy. There was no meat on them. There was nothing there to be able to take from it. So there was the good and the bad. And that means that the kingdom of heaven, like the fish, it's going to be work. In order to achieve it, we have to put something into it here and now. And we have to realize that God is going to separate the good and the bad. Now, I know that could be a scary thought. Whenever we hear in the scripture, about the fires of hell. You know, sometimes people get a little scared by that. Oh, there's no hell. No, there's no hell. We don't want to talk about that. You see, because maybe we live in this sinless society where there is no bad. Everything's good. Well, that's not true, because we make decisions that are not good. And we have to be concerned about making God happy, about pleasing him with the decisions we make, and realizing there's incredible forgiveness for the bad ones, but we're held accountable. So that means that we have to work towards our salvation every day. So there's that beautiful mystery that we're seeking, and we have to work on it. And that's what heaven's going to be all about, because I hope that we're all going to be there one day, that we're joyfully going to enter into heaven because God has given us that gift of his incredible love and his mercy. But we have to start thinking about it here and now. You know, we have to start thinking, what do you think heaven is like? Do you ever wonder about what heaven is? What is it that you would wish for to be there? Well, maybe you don't think about heaven all the time, but maybe you are daydreaming. Especially young people, they like to daydream a lot. What are you daydreaming about? Do you ever daydream about that great gift of God's love? About how sweet that is going to be? Do you wonder about yourself walking through the gates of heaven and being able to be received into the arms of his incredible mercy? That's things that we can wonder about. Socrates said that wonder is the beginning of wisdom. Wonder is the beginning of wisdom. So if you're seeking to be a wise person, well, start wondering. Expand the mind, use the imagination, and think about God. Think about how great he's going to be for each one of us. Because I assure you, when it comes to matters of faith, you'll never get criticized for wondering. No one would ever say, oh, they think that the world is full of such wonder. We are called each and every day to wonder about God. And in that, maybe we will all become wise.